The Mating School by Jonas Mears. Chapters 41 and 42. Chapter 41. The next day of lessons started with Lily being called to the front to receive a new class marker in life principles. It was her only remaining general education class she still had. She wondered why this couldn't have been done the day before in her energy control class, which was much smaller with only a select few students, as compared with the general class with close to 150 peers there to gawk. And yet, she knew it was done intentionally, for the others' information more than her own. "Are they my peers anymore?" thought Lily to herself as she made her way back to her seat. She bundled the material of the new market in her hands, and yet there was no hiding it. She couldn't hide who she was, who she'd become, who she had to become. Accepting this, she slipped the black material around her waist. She couldn't feel bothered by the curious, lingering stares of her classmates, the longing in some of their eyes, how they'd desire to be liken also, without them knowing the true challenges that came with it. She nearly laughed thinking about her old red marker, how she's detested it. She hated how it seemed to single her out without her even knowing why. She looked at her seat as she approached it. She couldn't be sure why, but she couldn't bring herself to stop. She could feel on some instinctual level that this was not where she was supposed to be. She wasn't meant to spend these 2 hours sitting among the gawking glances of the other students. She was meant to be free. And if she couldn't be that, then she needed to be out practicing what she needed to be understanding. Something she wouldn't be able to learn from a general life principles class. Nothing was said as she opened the door. There was nothing to say, really. After feeling as she had the night before, being in the moment, feeling alive and powerful, she couldn't deny who she was. She couldn't huddle behind apologetic self-doubt and denial. And doing those things would only waste time that she didn't have. She paused in her thinking as she walked down the corridor. Her rhythmic footfalls echoed off the stone flooring and seemed to echo her feelings from the night before. Each step seemed meaningful somehow, not just to get to wherever her body was taking her, but meaningful in themselves. And she understood that this was the root of the magic, the root of shapeshifting even. She recognized now that going without this in her old pack, being in an abusive survival situation, was the cause of her failure to shift. Her fear even of not shifting may have delayed her abilities. And in this way, she wasn't special. Not really. This happened only because she had some unusual genetic anomaly. That was all. "Is it?" said the voice of her mind. Chapter 42. "It's not enough," Lily whispered. She felt frustrated after her magic failed to entirely break through the binding magic. "You have control of the magic now," said Anne, who was leaning against the far wall of the practice room to give Lily enough space. "Don't be so hard on yourself. There's no choice but to be hard on myself. There isn't enough time. But she broke off. She hadn't told Anne something. She hadn't been ready. "Ryan's been ordered to duel me." "A duel?" said Anne, sounding uneasy. "Are you sure?" "Ryan told me yesterday at lunch," said Lily. "He said they ordered it and that he won't be able to stall much longer." "Much longer?" said Anne. "Are we talking days? And what kind of duel exactly?" I think I might have a week," said Lily. "Maybe." He said, but she wasn't sure how to go on. It seemed so surreal still. Things had changed so irrevocably in the last few days. First, her new marker to reflect her status as a lichen, and now, he said we must fight to the death. Anne dropped the book she'd been holding. "And they ordered this?" Lily nodded sullenly. He told me I have to win. He told me that he's too far gone from mind control. He told me about how once they have the first level, then they can order them to agree to more racontool, what they've been using for control. Holy shit, said Anne. What are we going to do? I'm going to magically become incredibly powerful overnight and then… I'm not sure after that, actually, said Lily. Holy shit, Anne said again. That's not helping, Anne, said Lily. I know, said Anne. It's just that… Holy shit. Maybe you can just run away? I'm afraid not, said Lily. Her tone was quiet. She couldn't entirely explain why, even to herself, but some deep part of her knew there was only one way forward. The thing is, I have traces of the mind control on me also. I can feel the order same as him. It's just that I didn't fully recognize it until after he told me. It's not something I can just run away from. And anyway, Lily continued, what good would running away do? This isn't something that I can just run away from. Not anymore. Sure you can, said Anne. Just learn how to shift into a rabbit or something, and then live the rest of my life as a rabbit in a dirt hole? Said Lily. What kind of a life is that? And how can I help those I love with my head buried in a hole? I'd spend my days worrying about when my past would find me. So, said Anne. She paused for a long time, as if searching for another way to avoid the situation. So, you going to kill Ryan? No, actually, said Lily. I can't. Or at least not if I can help it. I need to find a way to break the mind magic. And then at least whatever I do is my decision. I can't just kill Ryan because someone has ordered that. I wouldn't be able to live with that. I just don't understand why they would order something as foolish as a duel. What do they have to gain from something like that? Anne looked uncomfortable. Well, actually, they have a great deal to gain from it. And not least because there'd be one less lichen. Part 2. Bound or not, the lichens rule. Sometimes fate can be so cruel. The witches brew racontool before the time of the duel, when cards are played for the school. Is that it then? The real prophecy? Said Lily, after hours spent working to communicate the information. You could have told me this sooner, Anne. I didn't know sooner, said Anne. Not really. And I didn't think they'd act on it. It wasn't even relevant until they did. Besides, it wouldn't have changed anything. Just stressed you out more. Bound or not, the lichens rule, said Lily. Well, this is good then, right? Sometimes fate can be so cruel. Wonder what that means. Cruel that the lichens take over leadership? Or cruel that they have to? Maybe both, said Anne. Seems cruel that the shifters in power are so desperate to retain control. Cruel that Ryan and I will be forced to fight. The witches brew racontool before the time of the duel. When cards are played for the school, Lily said. So the mind magic before the duel. I guess that's panned out, and the duel will decide the fate of the existing government? That's how I understand it, said Anne. So, what do they have to gain from Ryan and I fighting? Said Lily. Her brain was feeling like mushy snow on a summer's day. They think they've won. You and Ryan are both under the mind control, said Anne. Or at least they think you are. To them, if you're both controlled, then no matter who wins the duel, they will retain control. Bound or not, the lichens rule, said Lily. So, they think the only way to stay in power is to control the lichens. I think so, said Anne. I think they think they're fulfilling the terms of the prophecy. But that's their problem, isn't it? How so? They don't know you're not actually under their control, said Anne. But I am, said Lily. But you're not. Not really. Can't you feel that? The mind magic wasn't sealed. It's just a matter of figuring out how to overcome it. How do I do that? Said Lily. The same way I told you months ago, Lily, said Anne. Sometimes you just have to believe. I wonder why they wouldn't order Ryan to fight Christy instead of me. They have more control over Christy. Isn't it obvious? Said Anne. What's obvious? Christy is not as powerful as you are, Lily.